Welcome back to the Intangible Podcast. I'm here with my man, Daryl Worley. He was a cornerback in the NFL, drafted third-round draft pick to the Carolina Panthers. Pretty high draft pick there, man, as a DB out of West Virginia. He went to the University of West Virginia and also played for multiple organizations like the Panthers, the Raiders, Cowboys, Tennessee Titans. And man, we didn't even connect while you was here with the Titans. I wish I would have known that. Then also spent some time with the Washington Commanders. Throughout your career, your body took a toll. The physicality of the sport, but you were known for one of those physical corners, the discipline of the game, but also one of those veterans that people that gravitate towards. So, Daryl, man, I really appreciate you joining me on the Intangible Podcast. Look forward to really diving into your story. Welcome, my friend. Welcome.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, take me back to a little bit of your upbringing. Take me back to a time where, football was that thing that kind of that you started to gravitate toward as a young man?
So it's crazy. I was raised as an only child, so I didn't really have a older sibling or anything like that. My older brother and older sister are actually both 18 years older than me. So I was raised in kind of like a single home, and there weren't really many footsteps to follow behind. So just going out in the neighborhood, growing up in North Philadelphia, I grew up 4 blocks from Temple Hospital, right down the street from the university and everything as it stretches along Broad Street. So, just playing, everyday football, out in the street with the other kids, wanting to have that type of fun times and things like that. It kind of led into older parents and things like that kind of telling my mom, like, listen, you should get them into football. Everyone in the neighborhood is playing football. And there was some years there where my mom, she just wasn't okay with it. She denied it. She finally gave into it. I want to say when I was around 7 or 8 years old. First time she let me go out there. And honestly, I didn't even go to my neighborhood team. Ended up going to a little further out team that was in the Albany area of Philadelphia. And I played for the Albany Eagles. That was my first team. My mom ended up, she was so cautious and scared about the sport still. She had me elbow pads, knee pads. I looked more like I was going to skateboard. Yeah, like I was going to skateboard more than I was going to play some football. But I mean, it was kind of one of the best decisions that I was ever able to make, and that she was able to allow me to make at the same time. So I always appreciate her for trusting me and allowing me to take that step.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. It's like, you're that child where it just kind of like, it was just surprising because mostly when you're that third child, the last child in the house, they kind of like do whatever you want to do because we've had to deal with your older siblings and your parents like, no, this is my baby. I'm not going to let this happen. Yeah. So as you started to grow up and you started to go through and trying to figure out, if what football really meant to you, at what time did you realize that, hey, I have this thing that I can really take this to the next level?
I want to say when I was about 13, 14 years old, was very conflicting for me because, like I said, I also ran AAU track, and, there was a large point and time frame there where I was actually like I was excelling so much more in track than I was in football, that it was more so of a which road do I take type of thing. And I mean, if you have a conversation with my dad, he'll tell you that there was a time he asked me and I told him blatant straight out, listen, I'm going to be an NFL player. Like this is what I want to do. Like, it doesn't matter how good I am at this other sport. And that kind of came back full circle, going into colleges, they'll offer you that you can be multi-sport athlete, things like that. And I mean, I had great moments. Like, we have Penn relays here in Philadelphia that, is a historical event that happens every year. And running there in high school, I was able to, bring in different types of D1 colleges. I remember the one that stood out to me at the time was when Oregon's program really skyrocketed on the track scene. And we were able to get a recruiter to come, and he ended up offering me a scholarship. And I was so close to taking it until he said the thing about, I want you to know that this is a track scholarship and you'll have to walk on to the football team. And that's kind of what deterred things for me and made a difference.
Yeah, man. Now, are you one of those, you're the mindset that every track player can play football, not every football player can run track?
Not at all. Not at all. Not it's not even close. There half the things that I'll put it to you like this. Half the things that football players go through, track players couldn't imagine. You know what I mean? Just and that comes strictly down to physicality. I wouldn't put no limitations on any human being and what they're capable of, but just the physicality aspect, everyone's not capable. And that goes for every sport outside of football.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you talked about, Oregon offering you a scholarship, and, you kind of at that stage, when did West Virginia come in and offer you a scholarship, and when did you know that was the right place for you?
So they came in my junior year of high school. I want to say my lead recruiter was Jake Spavito. I think he's at Texas A&M now. And, he was a guy that just always stayed in contact with me, throughout my junior season and everything like that. And it was important to me to go somewhere that was far enough from home, but at the same time, my parents would be able to come to every game. So it was like a home away from home. I was away from the trouble, but at the same time, it was comforting enough, and how they supported me. And it was the point where Jake brought Dana Holgerson, who was my head coach at West Virginia, to my home in North Philadelphia. I don't know if you know about Philadelphia blocks, but they're small. There's, it's people parking up on the curb. It's barely so the car can fit down the street without swiping a mirror. So when he was able to bring a man of that stature and that level, and he was comfortable to be able to sit in my grandmother's living room, have a conversation with me for hours, tell me that they're interested, that meant a whole lot to me. And that's where I knew that was a great home for me.
Yeah, man. What was the transition like going from high school, running track, playing some football, but then kind of really getting introduced to college football? What was that transition like for you? And what did West Virginia teach you from a toughness and accountability?
I would say the biggest thing that I was taught throughout it all was that first summer there. So my biggest thing is I wanted to be there. I didn't do any of those after high school trips, any of that type things, like where you take a little time. I was like, I want to go right there. I literally remember having my trunk party and literally driving that night to school. So through those summer workouts, just coming in as a freshman, it's just like you could see the politics that'll play into those level of the game. You could tell that it wasn't just oh yeah, this is football. The best players are going to play. You really begin to understand that, especially because during my time, those stars, they actually meant something. We didn't have NIL deals and things like that. So when a guy came in as a 5-star, that's who was getting most of the conversation from the coach. And I think that's the biggest difference. And I begin to understand that my stars is never going to stack up to his, because our high school careers are set aside. So right now, from these summer workouts, we literally have to start. I have to start where my starting blocks are, and he has to start where his are. But at the end of the day, we still have to walk the same path, and I just have to make sure that I keep my head down, continue to work.
Man, why do you think politics still plays and is still rampant when you talk about sports, where it's supposed to be a place where the best athletes gets on the field and they play?
I just think that I think politics is an inescapable thing in all natures of life. Whether it comes to sports, whether it comes to everyday life, like politics are going to be politics, and there's no one that's ever going to beat politics. You know what I mean? Like even the president, he can't beat the politics to a certain extent. So I think that there is just something that you begin to, the more you understand it, that's something that's out of your control. Because that's another thing that I like to lead by is I like to control the controllables, be where my feet are, and being able to I can't stress myself about things that are out of my nature. I can't stress myself when I was drafted and they want to see what the first round player has before they get to me, which was a third round player. That's just politics. That's how it is, and there's a ladder in everything that we do in life, and the higher ups are always going to have the power at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense, man. It's always you see it play out. I mean, being around sports a long time, you see it play out. Whether that's your draft pick, whether it's how much money you're making, whether that's just this guy just really likes you. So
Yeah.
you see it play out in a lot of different area of sports, but also in life. And so, but you were able to overcome a lot of that. So, and when you're talking about that, as you start to really prepare for the NFL. When did you get your confidence? At what stage of your college career where you felt like, okay, this dream that I had when I told my dad that I'm going to play, play professional football, now I can start to see some of that light appear that I have a shot to do this?
I would say my freshman year, we had a lot of talent during that time. Just leaving West Virginia and with Tavon Austin, Geno Smith, Stedman Bailey, we had some guys, and between those guys coming back and forth to school, and they'll chop it up with guys, let you know what they really feel about you and all those type things, which was always appreciative. But being able to step into the conference that I did step into in the Big 12 at the time is just the competition level was phenomenal. I mean, and being able to not only play but start as a freshman and being able to be out there and be a huge contributor at that point, it was nothing but a confidence boost of any questions you may have had about yourself. You can mark those off because now that the fact that you're showing up every Saturday and able to put it on the field, it answers those for you.
Yeah. Well, and I got to ask you now, you said Tavon Austin, who's faster, you or Tavon Austin? I mean, you've been a track guy. I mean,
man, I would give it to Tay for sure. He, his highlight tape speaks for itself, man. The biggest thing I think is that we don't take into accountability until we are actually, because it's unlike football. Track is unlike football in the nature of when they put a guy's bio up, it usually says his hometown, his height, weight when it comes to football. When you literally when they put a track guy's bio up before he runs, what does it usually say? Just where he's from. We don't really take into accountability the stature that these guys are. Like they may be 6 foot something, but they weigh in like 170, 180. You know what I mean? Like they borderline boxers at a point. So it's like you really have to take that into accountability where we look at it on if you look at the other side of the coin when it comes to football, if we hear a guy is under 180, we are like, hold on, he's in a danger zone. You know what I mean? So that's a big part of everything I take into account.
Yeah, fair enough, man. I mean, talking about that, when you're leaving college, what do you think your biggest strength was? Was your physicality or was it your mentality?
I think it was. I would definitely say my mentality coming out of college. In college, I didn't see myself as the biggest physical guy. I mean, I played with probably one of the hardest hitters that's ever played in college football, and Carl Joseph. You know, I mean, he was my mentor when I got to West Virginia, and I mean, he was known for knocking people clean out in college. So we didn't need 2 of those on the defense. So I never even adapted that mentality of, oh yeah, we got to be out here killing people. You know what I mean? So I would say the mentality, the fact of being able to grasp the entire defense from front to back, that was a big thing of mine. The cerebral part of the game, it definitely it allowed me to be able to know what I could do and couldn't do within the defense. Where can I take risks? Where can I not take risks? And I feel like that's always been a strong piece of my game.
Yeah. Okay. Well, being there at West Virginia, man, what was that moment where you realized, all the things that you had learned that kind of led you to the place of, I got a chance to make it, to survive at the next level, because, you go through that freshman year, all of a sudden, like, you're getting your feet wet. There's still so much to learn. You're still trying to learn all the nuances of the defense. At what moment of your college career that really all started to set in for you?
I would say it probably was earlier on into my college career than anything, because I didn't always play just corner, and that was it was a crazy part to me because I actually went to West Virginia with the opportunity to play wide receiver. So it was me having the conversation with our receivers coach at the time was Coach Galloway. He coached at Louisville for a long time. And I remember having a conversation with him during that summer when it was just workouts. It wasn't any football yet. And it was just more so, he was just like, what do you want to do? Like, are you here to play football? Say you played in college, or are you trying to go to the NFL? So him knowing that I had the ability, I played both sides of the ball, which most guys do in high school. He said, you should switch over to defense right now. And we had some guys in the room. Like I said, Tavon Austin and Stedman Bailey had just left. We had Kevin White in the room, just came from JUCO.
Oh, yeah.
He was a first round draft pick. We had some guys. Actually, David Sills was also in the room, which he now plays with Atlanta Falcons. So it's like we had some guys that were burners at the same time. They could really play some ball. So it was like, would you rather come over here and compete, or do you want to, with this stature that you have as the ability to play wide receiver, take that to defense right now so that they can change your mentality and you can, thrive that way. And it was that conversation that kind of changed my life. And I'm forever indebted for him for having that conversation with me and allowing me to understand.
Man, I think the coaches see, man, what did he see in to sit you down and have that kind of conversation, man? Because I remember when I was playing guard in college and coach sat me down and moved me into center, and I was like, man, I don't want to play center. I'm not a center. never done it a day in my life. And it turned out to be the best decision that I could have ever made in my life.
Yeah. I don't, again, the first thing that flashed into my mind when you ask that is it kind of goes back to the politics, because you got to think when you bring freshmen and say you bring 10 freshmen in and you got 3 5-star recruits on there, these 5 stars are going to get reps regardless. So the more you go down in stars, I came out of high school as a 3-star. So it's like, maybe he was just making a suggestion of, you might not be getting the reps that you think you're going to get. You know what I mean? So, that it doesn't work out that way for everyone, because, people have their egos involved and things like that. Yeah. And they could have took offense. I could have took offense to it. Oh no, I'm better than such and such and such. Instead of it, I looked at it as an opportunity, which the opportunity turned into a blessing.
Yeah, man, that's grown man decisions right there. All right, so man, you go on, you get drafted in 3rd round, which is a big moment for you, all the hard work, and again, I'm thinking about this transition from receiver to playing corner, and now you're at draft day with the opportunity to get drafted. Man, take me through that and what did it all mean for you?
Honestly, the process of the draft was one in a lifetime. I would say all the craziness of it. From the combine to the pro day to the times, the weight, the numbers you hit, I feel as though all of that was chaotic in a sense. I was fortunate enough to be invited to the combine as a junior coming out, and during the time I was so caught up in the numbers and what was going on, because I had some guys in my class. I mean, me and Jalen Ramsey were in the same class. He went probably, I want to say like 10 people right before me. So we were in the same groups and everything. And I would say the only time I ever felt peace during it all was during the actual field drills. Like it was just like, now I'm playing football. Nothing, know what I mean? Yeah. Nothing else mattered. And it was just like it was crazy though. It was definitely chaotic. At the combine, I ran slow. I ran dirt slow. Nothing like I felt I should have. Just overthinking it, allowing the process to take over what actually should have actually happened. So, creating that kind of setback for myself going into pro day. I had to end up running my 40 again just to make sure that it looked better than what was initially presented. So. I would say that there's a lot that goes into it. There is a chaotic time, but it's a time that you're appreciative of looking back at it.
Yeah, and so now it's you get the draft, you get there, you're on cloud 9, and now you got to actually show up and practice. What was that welcome to the NFL moment for you that you were like, oh man, okay, this is different.
So honestly, I think I have 2 that may have happened in the same exact day. So it was crazy. So so I was drafted to the Carolina Panthers 3rd round, and they're on a high of highs. Like it was a low because they lost, but they had just come out of the Super Bowl. Everything was great. Everything, the environment, everything was awesome. This was prime Cam Newton and everything. I can't, in college, like there's a lot of trash talk and things like that. There's not the level that in which Cam Newton was doing it at. Cam is talking, and I'm playing with guys like Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, Charles Johnson. Like these are, Julius Peppers was there. Like this is full Hall of Fame tier players, and I'm just like, this is crazy. Like I'm like, so I'm just trying to stay as small as I can, not make too much noise to make you recognize. And Cam's bringing it to your front door every single day. Cam don't stretch. You in stretch lines. He walking around talking crazy. All the DBs. It's just like, do I say something back? Do I not? Like, and the one of the craziest moments was I want to say we were in 7-on-7, and Mike Tolbert, the fullback. Great all-time fullback. He, you remember, Michael used to be built like a bowling ball. Everyone thought he could move till he got in front of you. And Mike shook the living shit out of me. Like I'm talking about, broke me down to my knees, like in the open field. And everybody went crazy. I'm just like, the hell? And it was just like, that was definitely my first welcome to the league moment. And this was during mini camp, so this was like one of the only times, as like a rookie, you really got to go against those vets where it was mandatory and they were out there actually going hard. So it was that moment. And then I want to say it was either that day or like the next day in mini camp, I was able to like pick off Cam. And it was just like, I wanted to bark back so bad, but I just didn't know what to say. Like, it was just like, I was just happy I caught the damn ball. I was just like, but it was just like, it was definitely welcome to the NFL.
Oh man, lucky for you that film is practice film, and I can't get a clip of it to post on that. But I may have to try to track that down and see if somebody give me a clip of that.
Man, I hope
not. Well, man, when you think about the league, man, what do you think the biggest difference from college confidence and NFL confidence? As you thinking about your career.
I would say the old saying of 10,000 reps. It didn't matter how many times it didn't matter how many times I caught interceptions in college. When I got to the NFL, it was hard to do. It didn't matter how many times I made a tackle. When I got to the NFL, it was hard to do. So I say all of that to say, like, I think the reps of NFL practices and NFL games, they can't be duplicated in no way, sense, or form. We can try our best in the off season to duplicate the type of emotions and the situations that we'll be in. But I would say that there's nothing like getting reps. And I mean, that's from every tier of the game. I mean, from the quarterbacks to the linemen to the skill players to, perfect examples to the special teamers. Just like that game that happened on Sunday night, great football game. But as a kid, you know what I mean? You got to think this kid's only 21 years old. It doesn't matter, drafted or not. He has never kicked in Pittsburgh Steelers Stadium. That weather, that type of environment, those type of yellow towels, you can't duplicate it. It doesn't matter how many times you've done something. And I think the factor of 10,000 reps, and you hope that you get them and you end up on the positive side of their result more times than not. But that's just how the NFL goes.
Yeah, man, that's good. I mean, I have that conversation constant with young athletes, even with my own son, just talking about the reps. You get, especially when you see them getting frustrated with themselves, and all you got to remind them is like 10,000 reps. So you just start doing this. So think about, there's a lot of reps that has to go into this before you can start to master this skill. I said, exactly. So no, I like that a lot, man, because it's so true, especially in NFL. It doesn't matter. You got to get the reps in. Got to get your reps in, man. So, from a just from a reality standpoint of being in the NFL, trying to figure out, how are you going to stay in this league? And what was that time when you realized that consistency was the most important thing about longevity in the NFL?
I want to say that mines may have come around year 5 or 6. It was the first point in my career where I realized that politics were really starting to play heavily into the game. And it was that I want to say, I always call it the rough patch of my career. The first time I was first faced with adversity as far as like bouncing from team to team and, trying to find a home. I think the consistency of it was more so my first 4.5 years in the league. I was a starter on defense, so I was never really asked to do much on special teams or things like that. I want to say halfway through like year 6 is when I ended up in Baltimore, which is a great place. It was a great home. I'm forever indebted to Baltimore for what they have done for my career. And there was a conversation that I had with our special teams coach where his overall message was more so, the only thing that's keeping you there's no lack in your ability or anything that you're capable of. The only thing that's keeping you from being here on the 53-man roster and here on the practice squad is more so, lack thereof tape. There was no tape of, and this is the heyday of Baltimore being number 1, number 2 special teams in the league every single year. They were the poster boy for what it was to play special teams in the NFL. And It wasn't that I wasn't capable of it. It's the fact that I've never been asked to do it. Yeah, so it was at that point where I had to kind of change my mentality of more so, okay, I have the defensive playbook mastered. Now let me show them. Let me ask, can I get on in this rep? Can you put me in so I can get some of these reps? Can I get on punt? Can I get on punt return? I can do kickoff. I can do kick return. And it wasn't until then where the bouncing around stopped. I was able to make myself a home in Baltimore and to be known as one of their new special teams guys. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was that was a great message within my career where I fully began to understand the game, both ins and out.
More you can do, man. More you can do.
Exactly.
On that note, as you're working through trying to figure out how to create a new normal for yourself and trying to figure out, how to make yourself valuable, what does young DBs, when you think about that, what do they misunderstand about playing corner at the NFL level?
That's insane. Better get me started. I think that it took me I would say until my second year, so I was with Steve Wilkes, great coach in the NFL. I was with him. Yeah. He was my DB coach my rookie year, and it just me and James Bradbury were drafted together, and we were kind of like always grouped together because we ended up starting as rookies and playing that season. But we always used to feel like, damn, he's nagging the shit out of us. Like he's always on our ass. Like what's this about? Like I know we rookies, but just chill out. Like so,
he don't like me.
Man, that's how we used to feel. Like God damn, like why he making us work so hard? And it wasn't until I wasn't under his wing anymore, and I took it, and I was in different places where I began to understand of what it take to really be great in this league. What it takes to stay consistent in this league. Like you can be a starter one day, you could be competing for your job the next day. Like and I don't think that guys truly understand that this is, at that time the league was 16 weeks. Now we're at 18 weeks. So guys aren't really understanding the factor of things will change. This is a very, very fluid system. All parts will move if things are not going well. When you winning, things look good. You know what I mean? We could put a little Band-Aid over. Oh yeah, you did get beat on that fade ball, or you know what I mean. He did catch a 20-yard comeback. You know what I mean. It's easy to lay grace to things when things are going well, but when things are going bad, nobody's job is secure, because at the end of the day, like I said, there's a tier in everything that goes, and everyone has a higher up. You know what I mean? Up until we get to that owner, everyone answers to someone. So when that coach is going into those meetings and he has to answer, well, why is he not tighter on his dig route to be able to make a play? He's coming back to you. And if he feels as though you can't get that done, there will be changes. You know what I mean?
Sir.
People lose their jobs week in and week out. Like, and it wasn't until I got other places where guys, they didn't have, where I didn't have that same kind of attacking coach or overbearing coach, where he was really pushing me to the things I needed to work on. He wasn't necessarily pushing me because either we were winning or I might have been doing something right, but I could have been doing it better. And it wasn't until I didn't have that where I fully started to understand the game.
Yeah, man. We used to say in the O-line role, we used to say in the O-line room, shit rolls downhill. So in these moments when you're not doing your job,
yes,
you better believe somebody's up top is saying somebody to this guy that's saying something. Now it's coming to you. So you better be on your P's and Q's.
Exactly.
Oh man, that's what's up. So again, we talk about the consistency, we talk about reinventing yourself in some areas, plan for multiple organizations. That's not easy. What was the mental toll on you that kept you keep showing up every day, but also knowing that, man, it's hard. This is a hard thing to do, but I'm going to keep showing up every day. What was that like for you?
I would say the beginning of it was the hardest part. And it kind of all happened at once. I want to say it might have been that 2020 season when I signed to Dallas. It just was a tough space. I mean, we were dealing with COVID. It was a weird year. Free agency went kind of very, very wonky that year. And everyone it just seemed odd. Like if I could take time back and have it my way, I would have wished that the NFL canceled that year of football. Like, it was weird. We playing in stadiums, it's dead silent. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was just like, it's one memorable day where I just had a tough day, not necessarily in practice, but like just dealing with the coaches of like being able to do things, the way that they wanted to do. And mentally it just drained me. And, at the time I have three kids now, but, I had my oldest son and then my middle daughter, and they were young. Like I'm always the parent that'll come home, play with the kids for a little bit and, sit down, talk to my wife. Yeah. And mentally I was defeated that day. And it was probably 4:00 in the afternoon. I think I just went home and went to bed. I didn't say a word all night, just went home, went to bed, got up the next morning and went back to work. So it was almost like I never came home. And it was a conversation that I had with my wife where she was like, I'm not going to ask you as far as what went on at work. She was like, because I usually don't, unless you want to talk about it. But whatever that was that beat you yesterday, I don't want to see it beat you ever again. And that was the point of, I felt like instead of me playing the game, I felt like the game was playing me and it was winning. Mm-hmm. So it was just like I vowed to myself, like no matter what was going on, that I would continue to stay the way that I was raised. Stay with my head down, stay with my hard hat on, stay working, no matter what the circumstances may point out. Like whether I'm being released or I'm being, it didn't matter what the situation was. I knew what I was capable of, and I knew where to stay mentally. No matter how things may have looked. And that was definitely a change and turning point in my career.
Yeah, man. And I mean, we don't talk enough about it, because you can get in those dog days. It can get really tough. How do you become mentally aware of where you are so that you can climb out of it, or so you don't let it spiral out. So, in that, being that we're a podcast talking about intangibles, from a mental health perspective, were you working with someone? How did you become aware of, where you were so that you can work through it and get back to how you were raised?
So I did end up doing therapy, not at that exact moment, but, a few years later, just because of like feeling as though I felt like and I want to, I've heard this many places, duplicated and replicated many different ways, but a man with no purpose is a very dangerous man.
Yeah.
And that was a point where I felt as though I was getting to, especially like during the bounce around and things like that. Especially when you feel as though you're doing all the right things and things just aren't playing out in your favor, whether it's the politics, the team, the numbers, no matter what it is.
Injuries, you name it.
Yeah, it's just like things begin to pile up, and it made me feel as though the thing that I always put first in my life, I felt like it wasn't showing me the same respect when it came to football, and things just weren't playing out in my favor. So when I felt as though I was losing my purpose and things weren't naturally going as how I expected them, or how my career may have started, or the majority of my career had went, though, that was a point of where I needed to talk through other things of why do I feel this way? Why do I put such importance on how is football treating me? What was my current statue in football? And it ultimately ended up helping me. You know what I mean? I was able to talk to people where it brought me full circle back to moments of whether it was childhood, upbringing, things like that. And all of those, we don't like to think of it as men. It's just, oh yeah, let me put my head down, do the work, and make sure everything taken care of. But those things, they'll take a toll on you, whether you notice it or not. And that's a big part of it.
Yeah, man. The book I've read called "The Body Keeps a Score," man, it's so true, and it's so good that you even just sharing that. So I appreciate you sharing that, because I think as young men, especially as young Black men, we think that it's a taboo thing, and I think we are finally kind of getting to a place in our culture, in our society, that these things are important to take care of yourself. Put your mask on first, and that means you may need to go sit down and have a conversation with someone. And so thanks for sharing that, man, because I think it's very important that people know that, you get to a place or, in life that there are supports and resources out there to make sure that you can then, get back to a place of comfort, get back to a place of strength of where you're going. You're finding that North Star. So again, I appreciate you sharing that, man.
I think there's no negativity in asking for help. And help comes in many different ways. You know what I mean? It doesn't always be, oh, I got to put my hand out so this person can pick me up. Help could come in the simply a conversation of talking to your teammates, talking to anyone. You know what I mean? Just sometimes it just feels better to say it out loud. And those things were reflective in all parts of my life. And it wasn't until I went and got help where I was able to notice, like, oh, I do let this build up until it's at a over tipping point. You know what I mean? So people don't really notice weirder their tipping point is. Thankful for me, mine was more so, it would more so be an outburst or, an argument compared to, other guys aren't as fortunate where their tipping points take them to roles that aren't so lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, man, I got a question for you that I've been in this position, so I haven't asked this question to anyone, and so I've been thinking about this a lot. When what does being a pro actually look like when you're not the starter? Because I've gone from, you talked about coming into the league as a starter, you getting that time, you getting that shine, and then you go from not to backing up, and I've had to go through that in my career. And, what was that? What does it look like to be a pro in those moments where you're not the guy?
I think that those are the most important parts. And those points right there is what will define your career. And it wasn't until, like I said, when I got to Baltimore and was able to give it another opportunity of things like that, where was I able to stay the same of, oh yeah, I may be starting on all four special teams, but have I still studied this defense the way that's necessary? So I think being accountable at a different type of level is what it takes to be a pro. You're going to be where you're supposed to be. You're going to do what needs to be done. No one's going to have to double check, follow behind you. At the end of the day, we are grown. We are all grown men, very, very grown men. And there was points in my younger career where I've made mistakes. I may have, not been where I was supposed to be and this and that. And it molded me into the pro that I needed to be. So it was like, I'll never go back on these mistakes and have to, you should never have to make the same mistake twice to learn from it.
Yeah.
So I think that even though you are in a backup position, you should still study as a starter. because there's at any moment, there's at any situation that can happen. I've had guys actually, speaking of Tennessee, last year, when I got to Tennessee, I may have been there maybe a week and a half, and lo and behold, going in as a backup, thinking I was going in as a backup, the starter wakes up and has a stomach bug, can't stop throwing up, lost 10 pounds overnight.
Yeah.
Am I prepared? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Thank God that I'm 9 years in. This isn't my first time going through it. So I'm fully understanding of like, what's the situation? What needs to be done? Did I study enough during the week? Do I trust my studies, or you know what I mean? Or was I half-assing it? You know what I mean? As a pro, you're going to go out there confident to do what you got to do within the scheme of the defense and still being able to do your job. But like I said, those opportunities and situations, they fall out of the sky. They can happen at the blink of a moment. A guy can roll his ankle walking into the hotel as you guys check in. So it's like being able to prepare as a starter, even though you're not technically on paper one, that's what makes longevity of careers.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, like I said, I've been there, and it hits the ego a little bit, but you also know that the next man up pretty quickly, because I think when I got to Tennessee, I was kind of in that coming in the backup role, and before you know it, the guys, I think it was the starting center gets hurt, and then I'm playing 12, 13 games, so you just never know. You always have to be prepared to be that guy, even when you're not that guy. So that means put the ego aside.
Yeah, I've always said, and I didn't start to hear it until I was probably about year 6 and 7, is that where guys would just describe me of, oh yeah, he's a pro. And it wasn't until I understood what it meant until it's really one of the greatest compliments you could have as an NFL player.
Yes,
that guy's a pro. That means from the top up to the from the front office to the coaches to personnel, everyone, they know for a fact he's a pro. He's going to do what he's got to do. That's the ultimate sign of, oh yeah, we trust him. We trust him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Darren, we're going to do a quick 2-minute segment. It's rapid fire questions. So, quick answers, and just easy breezy. Here we go. You ready for this?
Yep.
All right. One of the hardest receivers you ever had to cover?
Julio.
All right. We'll start off hot here. One DB trait that doesn't show up on film?
Ball skills.
Ball skills. All right. Favorite defense you played in?
Mike McDaniel's defense right now that they're playing in Seattle.
Whew, them boys, my Seahawks playing some good ball right now. Hardest mentally, camp, cuts, or game day?
Ooh. I would say cuts. Yeah.
All right. One habit that kept you in the league for as long as it did.
Consistency.
I like that. All right, man. You're doing great right now, man. Most of my guests are not rapid fire, so you're doing great. Here we go. All right. Best piece of advice that you ever gotten?
I've actually said it earlier. That's how ingrained in me it is from Steve Wilkes, is be where your feet are.
I love it. All right. This kind of, okay. I'm just going to ask you here. Film or recovery, which matters more?
Recovery. It doesn't matter what you can do mentally. If your body ain't capable of it and it's not ready to do it, when that ball is snapped, nothing will work.
Yeah, that's like getting older too. My mind is good, but the body says no. All right, what does confidence really mean at your position?
I feel like confidence is everything. It starts with a DB, because you can tell the difference between a DB who's playing confident. He could not know a damn thing of the coverage or what he's supposed to do, but he gonna go out there and compete because he know what he's capable of and what his abilities are. While on the other side, you can definitely tell when a guy is not confident. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
whether he knows the playbook or not. He can't guard. He can't stop any type of routes. He can't get anything right. He just, you know what I mean. Just, when you're just playing, when you lack confidence, you kind of lack everything, especially in a game of such, masculinity and egos. It's hard. It'll feather itself out very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, last one for you. Your NFL career. Describe your NFL career in one word.
Oh, one word. That's a. I wish I'd had some time to think about that one, but
Yeah.
one word.
You can always pass, and then if you think about it before we wrap up, you can give it to me then.
If anything, I would say it's gonna come out as two words, but it'll have one meaning. I would just say it was blue collar.
Lunch pail guy. Showed
Exactly.
up every day with your lunch pail ready to go. Hard hat.
Yep.
I love it. Man, that's awesome, man. Well, we're going to jump back in. I got several more questions for you. When we think about leadership and we think about, just that title of being a guy, you don't strike me as a guy that was the loud, rah-rah type guy, but you strike me as a guy that your teammates they respected you. How do you define leadership?
I would always, and it's kind of cliche, I would always say leadership is in what you do, not what you say. There's a lot of guys that, they bark loud, they talk this way, and, but they live a different way, and it just doesn't reflect well, especially once the layers are start to peel back, you know what I mean? Because throughout a season, it doesn't really matter who you are, what stature you hold, or, everything will start to peel back. There's someone in that organization that's going to get close to you, that's going to begin to understand the layers of your life. So I think that just being able to be transparent while also being accountable at the same time is always the biggest of importance.
Yeah. Now, for my young athletes, just hearing your perspective on this, how do you lead when you're not the guy or you're not in the spotlight?
I think that there's this space as far as, even though I remember when I was younger, there was a vet that used to say, well, I ain't teaching these young guys nothing. They ain't doing nothing but taking food off my plate. Right. And I feel like once you adapt that mentality, you're already losing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, even though I'm not in the spotlight, or I'm not on the little thing at the bottom that say the names on Monday Night Football, it's not like you're not out of the league. You know what I mean? You're still blessed. You're still in situations. So you should look at it the same way. If a young guy is struggling with something, I mean, I've played with numerous guys. They'll tell you I'm always willing to lend a helping hand of, maybe you should look at it this way, or you should recognize this, and you know what I mean, try to teach guys things, because if all you got to say for your time in the league is, oh yeah, I played in the league this amount of time, and God forbid, you pass along, and none of those guys you ever came across doesn't attend your funeral, what legacy did you truly leave? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man, which makes me think, why does the stars, the leaders, the real leaders, they rarely have to say much. They rarely don't say a lot. Why is that?
I think that actions always speak louder than words, and it's not until it's put into certain circumstances or categories where you actually see the intangibles of that, you know what I mean, and how important that is in every situation, because of the fact that those guys don't say much. Like most recently, I played with Bobby there in Washington. Oh, yeah. I couldn't tell you the pitch of Bobby's voice outside of him making calls on the field. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? You know that he's a dominant player. He's a guy that you should follow behind because he's doing things the right way. And that's simply because of his actions. He's a pro's pro. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest thing. I think actions are always louder than words in all instances.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, As we start to get close to wrapping up here, man, I'd be remiss if we don't talk about this. You talked about it early on as being a father of three. Tell me how important that role is for you, and how, when you look at the game and what it's provided you for your life, and now you're in a role to raise kids, not necessarily play sports, but to instill the values and the things that you've learned throughout your career playing sports, and instill those things into your kids. How important that is for you.
I think it's probably one of the greatest jobs that you can have. One of the biggest responsibilities is not only just having kids, but making sure that you're raising them, and also raising them the right way. So being able to instill different things like integrity, work habits, respect, accountability, being able to just instill those different things that, even though they may have hit home so pivotal when it comes to football and that type of lifestyle, these are things that you can take through your everyday life. And those are the conversations. I mean, my kids are young, but they're understanding, and I still try to express those to them. Like, when we go through certain situations, like, you got to be accountable. Like, my oldest is he's actually finished his second year of baseball, and unfortunately, his first year they lost in the championship. Second year they won, and it was the point of having that conversation with him. Even though my oldest, he is autistic, he's on the spectrum, and I mean, it's just the huge accomplishment of, for example, using him. Your autism is not an excuse. You know what I mean? You can still go out there and you can still be as great as you want to be at anything that you want to be. And he started off slow and things like that, but building upon that, being able to instill that confidence in him respectfully, and being able to still show him that these other kids, yes, they are good, they're great, but you can be just as good, just as well. So allowing us to be able to put that together, use that type of work ethic, because I mean, he hates it when we have to practice, but he loves it on game day when he hits the ball into the outfield. So it's just like just showing him the benefits of hard work and things like that. I can see that it starts to show up for him in all aspects of his life, and that's very. I'm grateful. I'm humbled because of it, and I mean, it's shaped me to be who I am, and it's helping me to be able to shape and mold them into the great people that they're going to become.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I also have a son who's on the spectrum, and I know there's different layers of the spectrum when you're talking about high functional autism, and if further you get down that spectrum. But I have a son who's on the spectrum, and the same thing. It's taking all of the. When you're learning about these things, you're trying to make sure they have the right resources to support them. The thing that I always was able to lean back on was the foundation that I had of, like, okay, it's hard work. Now we're going to put in the work. Now we're going to work with the therapist, and we end up working with a therapist. We caught it early enough in his life where, we gave him the right resources, and we've been fortunate and very blessed to be able to provide that for him. But now he's 16. He's thriving in school. He's,
awesome.
Playing receiver, had made our regional this year, wow. And so not a comparison, but it's just everybody have their journeys that they go on, and being able to use the things that we learned in sports to even apply it into real life, whether it's business, whether it's raising your kids, because I think the biggest thing for me, especially growing up in Mississippi, where it's be seen, not heard, kid, and, we got our tails tore out the frame. And so, but I think for me that, especially playing center, being critical of what, how you're doing things, and then making adjustments and making those adjustments fast. And so with him having high functional autism, it forced me to adapt and learn a different parenting style to be able to parent someone who has it. So again, I can always look back and relate these things back to a lot of the foundation that's coming from sports that shows up day in and day out within our lives.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And I definitely think that, and it's crazy that I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of the autism thing, but it definitely like it just sparks that type of emotion and reaction in me because it has changed me. You know what I mean? Because I might want to approach things with the same set and standard in which I was raised or coached or taught things, and just knowing that their communication levels is different, their emotions is different, what they can handle, what they can't handle. You know what I mean? It definitely changes you, and like you said, it makes you adapt. It makes you think twice before about how you approach certain situations, and all in all, it's all coming out of love, and you're just trying to make them better.
Right.
So that's definitely a key point.
Absolutely. Well, man, I got a couple more questions for you as we wrap up here. But one, when you close your eyes and you want to go back and talk to your 17-year-old self, that kid that was a dreamer, that kid that wanted to play in the league, what would you say to your 17-year-old self?
Oh man, I'm trying to think. At 17, I wouldn't say that work ethic was a problem or anything like that. If I could give any advice, it would just be keep the focus, if anything. Because I remember there were pivotal moments in which, I could flash back to of when I made it as far as making it, getting drafted to the NFL, playing in the NFL, and I'm feeling like, yes, you know what I mean? I'm just ecstatic. I'm happy compared to having that, that cliche of the job's not done yet. You know what I mean? So instead of, if I could have, in those moments, in those good old days of being able to have that, I can imagine the things I would have accomplished in my career.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been there, man. I've been there in that place where, I got there, but I didn't have that mindset of, okay, now that I'm here, all right, what do I want to accomplish here? Yeah. So I appreciate that. All right, last one for you. When you think, again, thinking back over your life, thinking back where you are, where you've been, the things that you've done in your life, where you are now as a father, what are several intangibles that has made you who you are?
I would definitely want to say adaptability was a good one. Adaptability is a key one because like we've talked about over the duration of this, there's going to become a lot of different points and points in your life where you're going to have to pivot, you're going to have to adjust, you're going to have to become one. You know what I mean? You're going to have to fall in line. Like you said, you're not always going to always be the one leading the line. You're not going to always be one of the 11 that walks out on the field initially. It's being able to adapt to your situation, make the best of it, and being able to answer the question of yourself of what does this moment need from me? And I think the biggest thing that has helped me along the way is my connection with God and being able to have those conversations with Him of what is this moment call of me? What do you need of me in this moment? Is this a humbling experience, or is this where I'm supposed to be? Am I supposed to be learning a lesson, or am I doing everything the right way right now? And I just need to stay present in those given moments. So being present and adapting in all situations has really been a key point for me of being able to, no matter how good it may look, no matter how bad it may look, just being in that moment and staying present is helped me adapt to every situation I've gone through.
Daryl, man, being present, adaptability, your faith has carried you a long way, man. And I really appreciate you jumping on Intangible Podcast, sharing your story. Hopefully, whoever's listening, whoever hears this podcast can take a nugget out of it and apply it to their life, man. So I really appreciate you jumping on and sharing your story with us, man.
Oh, man, I appreciate you having me. And I got to shoot you over my wife's book. My wife does children's book for kids, and she has a special edition that's for all about autism and things like that. So I got to send you over the link.
All right. Hey, here we go. We're going to put you on the spot right now. Give a plug for the book. What's up? Here we go.
Oh man, just go on Amazon. Her book series is called Triple the Trouble. She has 4 editions right now. The biggest one, just because we touched on the autism, is all about autism. It talks about my kids, and they're she's just explaining to the siblings of what's going on, what autism is, and how does it pass on to other, just how he envisions all aspects of his life. She has different ones that are themed, from Christmas to Halloween to we all have it with when you have multiple children, just teaching them how to share. So it's a big thing. Amazon, you can go check it out on Amazon Prime. It's all there. Type in Triple the Trouble, TRIPLE, the Trouble, TROUBLE. My wife, Sierra Worley.
Man, that's awesome, man. I'm excited to check that out, and that's awesome that you guys have taken this experience and then also starting to share it, because, back then when we were growing up, man, we didn't know about any of these things, whether it was, celiac or autism or whatever. It's just like, oh, your stomach hurt. All right, go over there and have a seat,
And drink some ginger ale.
Okay. Well, it's just the weird kids, whatever it may be. And so man, I appreciate you guys sharing that and sharing your story, but also the work that you guys are doing there to continue to share your family story, man, so others can hear and learn. So, Daryl, man, it's been awesome, man. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate your time, man. Thank you for having me. This was awesome.